Today's saint of the day, October the 4th, is St. Francis of Assisi, founder of the Franciscan order and patron saint of Italy. St. Francis was born in 1182, the son of a rich fabric merchant and a noblewoman from Providence. He grew up occupied with family duties and worldly affairs. Francis had always had it in his heart the desire to do great things. And he demonstrated this in his early 20s when he left for the war between Assisi and Perugia, and later to help end the conflict of the Crusades. Now, when he returned from his war experience, he was ill and shaken, unrecognizable to many. Something had left a deep impression on his soul beyond his experience of the war. In a dream, he had heard a voice say, "Why do you burden yourself seeking the servant instead of the master?" At this point, his life took on a new direction. He was guided by his desire to know what God was calling him to. After much prayer and silent contemplation, he began to embrace lepers and outcasts as brothers and sisters. In the past, he had always found them to be disgusting and repulsive. As he was praying before a Byzantine crucifix in the small abandoned church of San Damiano, he heard the voice again saying, "Francis, go repair my church, which as you can see is in ruin." Now, at first, he thought that call was an invitation to reconstruct the ruins of the small chapel stone by stone. But in later years, he came to understand the full meaning of the call. He was being called with a spirit of obedience to renew the church, which at that time was dealing with divisions and heresies. The joy that young Francis felt by being loved and called by God helped to strengthen him to live by providence, and he gave away all of his possessions. When he did this, his father denounced him publicly during an audience with Bishop Guido. Francis declared his deep desire to marry Lady Poverty, and he removed all of his clothes as a way of renouncing his father's wealth. Francis gathered up brothers who shared his desire to live the gospel to the letter in poverty, chastity, and obedience. In 1209, the first group of brothers gathered in Rome to meet Pope Innocent III, who was inspired by that short and thin young man with burning eyes. He approved the rule, later confirmed definitely in 1223 by Honorius III. Francis's faith and devotion also attracted Clare, a noble woman from Assisi. He welcomed her and gave origin to the second Franciscan order, the Poor Clares. Later, he founded the third order for lay people. His deep love for Christ, expressed tenderly in the very first live Christmas nativity scene in Grezzo, Christmas of 1223, led him to the experience of receiving, as the first saint in history, the seal of the stigmata. Francis witnessed to the joy of faith, drawing even non-believers to the gospel. His life was a continuous expression of praise for the Creator. The Canticle of Brother Sun, a poetic masterpiece of Italian literature, was written when he became ill and expresses the freedom of a soul reconciled with God in Christ. St. Francis accepted Sister Death with joy, knowing that he would be going to Jesus. He died the evening of October the 3rd, 1226. My brothers, St. Francis turned his back on his nobility, wealth, and prestige. He humbled himself to love and serve people he once condemned. He loved God so completely, he trusted God to provide for him. I pray that our faith in God grows to match his. Be the family warrior God has called you to be. God bless.